Hey, Jane, let's do that.
So cute. It is so cute.
We're good.
I actually muted it. Good, okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm calling to order the meeting of the Skokie Public Library Board of Trustees of Wednesday, January 14th, 2026 at 6:32 p.m. Any comments from observers? None? Okay, so let's start out with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 10th, 2025. Are there any questions or comments? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 10th, 2025? Second. Any discussion? Okay, so let's go around and take a vote.
Consensus, okay.
Okay. We'll go through one at a time, I guess. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Okay. Motion passes. All right, executive director's reports.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see everyone. Happy New Year. Before I get into my report, I just wanted to, and I'll introduce our colleagues again later on, but I want, in case you're wondering, Sophie Kenny, our youth services manager, is here. And you know Amy and Allison and Laurel Julie, our teen services manager. And PJ is new, he's helping us out today. And then Jane Hanna, our communications and multimedia engagement manager, is here as well for the policies later on. So, it's good to see everyone. My report is pretty straightforward here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, but I don't know if I have to really dig into any of these. The budget planning is going well, and I am foreseeing the issue bringing the first look at the budget in February. So I don't think there are any big issues or problems, and because of the tax levy increase that the board approved last fall, it's looking really good. So I'll bring that to you in February. We're also continuing to explore the question of the weekend hours. So if you remember last fall, I kind of talked a little bit about it and brought it to you, and the board asked me to continue looking into it, and so that preparation is also progressing well, and so I don't see any reason why we won't have an outline of how we're planning to do it in February, and then the board can vote officially to approve that change in hours. We are approaching it, as we discussed last time we talked about it, as like a pilot period, so just give you a heads up about that. And then the other thing that I want to mention is refreshing the kids area. This is just very early stages here, so I don't even have that much to say about it, to be honest, because it started as a conversation while we were walking around the youth area and just kind of noticing that there was some furniture that it's kind of showing somewhere. It's a very busy space, obviously, so we're examining that and also some of the layout and some of those spaces because of some changes in our service model that we read about, like in our strategic updates and other updates. So we'll have a call with Andrew Vernon, our architect, and just have an initial conversation and see where it goes from there. So nothing for the board to approve yet, or I don't even have any sense of like the cost or the scope, but this isn't like a massive renovation that we're talking about. We're talking about just kind of refreshing some furniture, maybe arranging things differently. So we'll provide more information when we have that. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention the Open College Learning Commons ribbon cutting. It's next Tuesday at 4 p.m. at the Des Plaines campus. So I'm planning to attend. I believe some of my colleagues will be there as well. So I'm assuming Paula will be there. So yeah, if any other trustees are interested in attending. I saw some early photos or on the invitation or the renderings, and it looks fabulous, so really excited to see the finished product, so.
Any questions or comments from trustees? Okay, all right, moving on. Thank you so much, Richard. We're on page 4 through page 18 of the approval of the December 2025 disbursement report. Do we have any questions or comments on that?
I had a question under maintenance of buildings and grounds. There's a 5K expense for Convergent Technologies. Could you talk about that?
That was for the fire pump inspection. It's an annual fee, and I think there were some maybe minor repairs along with that.
Yeah. Is that something we do every year?
Yeah, we have all our, like, that's part of our kind of building safety protocols, if you want to call it that, like the fire pumps, the sprinkler system, the alarms, all that. Yeah.
All right. And then the other one I had is on section 125 employee reimbursement. I don't see this one on the report very often. So could you?
Yeah, just as a reminder that it will show up periodically, but it's basically our kind of cafeteria plan for flexible spending accounts, like for childcare reimbursement, that kind of thing. So that's what that refers to. So you'll see it once in a while.
On page 6, 3370, right at the bottom, Vocera Communications.
Well, Sarah is anyone wearing it? Yep, Amy's wearing it, Laura's wearing it. It's a wireless communication system that we implemented back in 2014. So 12 years, if you can believe it. And so it basically allows us to communicate with each other without having like all our phones. And
Oh, so it's like walkie-talkie?
yeah, similar. Yeah. You'll see it used in like hospitals, but we use it to kind of communicate all throughout the building.
I saw it in action the other day. I was very impressed.
It's yeah, people are like, whoa, it's pretty simple
Yeah.
idea, though. It's a walkie-talkie.
It was at the New Year's Day
Oh,
in
yeah.
the kids area, and there was like just people
yeah.
everywhere, and like it was PJ. PJ was like, the face painter was there, and everyone was there, and he was like, Amy, I need blah blah blah, and it was like so fast. I was so impressed. I was like, wait, where are my kids? I was like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
it was
it's
cool.
actually it's amazing how long we've had it, but it's so useful for us. So yeah.
And we can call 911 directly from this.
Oh,
We can
wow.
tap it, say call 911. So it's also saves, like, you have to run and find a phone if
Yeah.
there's an emergency.
So sometimes you'll see Vocera come up in the disbursements because we'll have either a renewal of the software, which is what this is, but sometimes you'll see charges where we're ordering some new badges if we kind of break some, or if we need more, or or lanyards or that kind of thing, batteries. Yep, sure.
Going back to buildings and grounds, 6060, 3321 TJ service for 2000,
What was it?
3321, yeah.
That's there was some replacement of the story time door hinges and kind of fixing something with the, that, I don't know if you've seen the doors, but they're the really big doors with the big handles.
Yeah.
So there was an issue with the hinge. but,
It's
yeah.
realignment, and it needs to be sanded a little and evened out.
Any other questions or comments about the disbursement report? Do I hear a motion to approve the December 2025 disbursement report?
Second.
We'll go individual vote. Lisa? Yes. Mary?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Bula? Ella?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
And Michelle, yes, motion passes 7-0. Okay, moving on to page 19, the approval of the hot water pump replacement project, pay app number 5.
This is the final payout for this project, so. You recall we had some just kind of minor things that we needed to make sure we're taken care of before we agreed to close out the project, so those were taken care of.
Could you walk through like why there was a reimbursement for $1,100? Like $1,190.67.
Yeah, so that was during the project, there was some, that's credit for a water damage that occurred during the project, and it wasn't our fault or anything, so Oak Brook, we paid for the repair, and then Oak Brook basically credited us from the pay app so that we didn't have to put the bill for that ultimately, so.
Okay,
So that's why
the issue's
it's
been
kind of-
resolved and
Yeah, oh,
everything.
yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't a major issue, it was just some fire alarm, 2 sensors that were damaged, that needed to be replaced. So.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve payment of the hot water pump replacement project pay app number 5 for a total cost of $13,734.33? I will go to individual vote. Elisa?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Amanda? Ula?
Yes.
Ella?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Michelle says yes, motion passes 7-0. Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda, pages 22 through 31. Richard, anything you want to go through with this and highlight?
I wanted to point out the ADA 35 update, you'll see that on page 31, actually. So I'm proud of our staff for all the work that we've done to celebrate ADA 35 in 2025, so it was good to see that snapshot there. But other than that, I mean, the kind of nothing, no issues that arose out of that. So, the spending is on target for what we expect around this time. Allison and I didn't see anything that we're really concerned about.
Go ahead, go first. I love the social media post about the library of things. I don't know who was in it, but it was very funny. I liked it.
I wasn't in it, but I'll pass that.
Yeah, it was very funny. I had a question about just reserves in general. I just wanted to make sure that, because I have received quite a bit of feedback from constituents, and then I have actually experienced this myself, and maybe I'm just not using the system right. Usually I'll go through a period where I put several books on hold or reserve at the same time, because the wait list is long, and inevitably I get them in batches, and I can't read them all when I get them. And I was talking to a friend who's in a different library system, and in that library, they have the ability to basically put a pause on their hold, where it essentially doesn't lose their place in line, but then someone can cut in front of them if they're still reading like a book. I don't know how it works, but like, do we have a solve for this, or what is
You can freeze your holds.
Okay,
Yes.
this is really great. How do you, because I get asked this a
Absolutely.
lot. I didn't
Yeah.
see like a prompt. I just don't know, because it seems many people I talk to, they run into this problem. So I don't know if there's awareness around that you can do this.
I know, yeah, I would be worried I would lose my spot if I did that.
Yeah.
So don't lose your spot.
Well, when you unfreeze it, then you're back in the mix to get it.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're gonna hold it for you
Right.
until you
Oh, yeah,
unfreeze
for
it.
sure.
And yes, people do get it while you are frozen,
Yes.
so it keeps circulating.
Okay,
But yeah,
But you have to kind of actively manage it, so
okay.
it's actually, we've had that for forever, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it might be like kind of a super user.
There might be
of
like an
Snapchat.
awareness thing, just because several people have asked me about it. I have experienced this
Mhm,
issue, so I just, when I see the amount, I mean, we fill a lot of reserves.
Mm.
And it just makes me wonder how many, like, the effort that staff is maybe doing to put a reserve on shelf when maybe somebody has already too many books, right? And like, the public might be better served if more people knew to
Yeah,
put their,
yeah.
I don't know, it's just a question.
We can definitely work on, that's a good suggestion, we can definitely work on some
Yeah.
reminders, tips,
Maybe a funny social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean, it always seems to happen, you know, like suddenly I'm number one on the list for 4
Right.
books at once, and I can't read them all by the time they're due,
And
so.
just to assure you, we don't actually plan it that way.
I know. I have a stack of like 4 homework, like I'm like,
we only do that for you.
Yeah. No, but I
Don't
mean, I did
eat,
hear.
don't sleep.
Yes, we did. But I did hear from other people, so I do think if there could
Yeah.
be awareness built around it, cause I mean, when I look at these numbers, it's a lot of, it's a lot of reserves that we have filled.
And
I'm
what's
on page
Which is
27.
great.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We celebrate.
So I just experienced
Right
this the
now.
other day.
Oh, wow, like, so.
My son,
yeah, pretty
I
high.
do a lot of holds on Libby because he likes to read series, like, you know, even though you can just pick up a different book number. So what was I gonna say, Libby gave me the option to like let somebody cut in front of me, otherwise I wouldn't even know that that was an option, and I thought I would have to go to the back of the line.
Their reserve system is a little different than our reserve system for physical items, but yes, there's
I
not.
just wanted to say that that was pretty neat, and I didn't know that it existed.
maybe we should do a series of tips for like kinda, yeah, the catalog, account management.
And then the other thing I was excited to see about how we're going to be migrating to a kids library of things. So I'd love to hear more about the plan for that and how you're gonna roll it out and then market it, like how you're gonna get the news out there about this great.
Yeah.
Well, you're looking at me, but it's actually.
Access.
I'm looking over here. Okay.
Well, we got a grant for $10,000 from the City of Support, an organization to help us build a accessibility collection for
Oh,
kids and families, yeah. So a lot of the items are gonna be of that nature, but in addition to that, there'll be some other things that are kind of just for fun. When do you know the rollout date for that? or is it still
We're
pending?
working on some shelving tweaks and adjustments. It's gonna be housed where the STEAM kits are currently, and the STEAM kits are gonna move into the kids department. So yeah, we're just working out how can we most effectively display and have those things on the shelf. So I don't wanna promise an exact date, because
Yeah.
sometimes it can be a lengthy period of time to get shelving parts.
Mhm.
But it is all in the works. So we have most of the materials, is my understanding, and they've started to process them and things. So we're getting close.
Cool. And it sounds like from what Richard was just saying, like a lot of accessibility things, like, do you have any idea for other types of things as well that might go in there, or?
I don't know the details.
Okay.
But we can.
Yeah, I think it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
If you have suggestions, I know you're working at it
Yeah,
too.
like the only
please let
reason
us
is
know.
in a past job I had, we used to work very closely with the Lika Tech Center. And because a large need, at least, especially with children who are on the autism spectrum, for example, it can be very expensive to go to the toy store or like, you know, a Target or Walmart or whatever and find toys that fit your kids' needs. It's a lot of experimentation. So our company would actually work with the Lika Tech Center to have our toys evaluated by their developmental experts to understand. And then it was then built into a guide. So if your child needs guidance, you know, with like a tactile stimulation or fine motor skills, parents could look up in that toy catalog that this toy would be beneficial for a child with this particular need. And then they could actually just rent the toy then and take it home rather than having to invest the money and buy a toy that their child eventually did not like. And it was a really great, and then we would donate the toys obviously after they were tested and whatnot. It became part of their toy library. So I just thought it was a great service, but what I really liked about it was the added recommendation, because a lot of parents, it can be really overwhelming to know, like what toys might be beneficial for different things and whatnot. So I liked that part of the program.
I think it'll be important for us to promote the new collection well too when that comes out, so that
Yeah.
people, like you said, are aware of what we have and
Yeah.
spread the news and share ideas for other items in the collection.
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, we donated toys, everything from birth plus to maybe like 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, so kind of in that preschool sweet spot, but
Yep.
it was really nice. We got a lot of positive feedback on it. So I think it's great that you're looking at things for accessibility. And that's why I'm thinking even just beyond that, there are things that may not necessarily be accessibility specific, but they do make play more accessible for children. So I think that's good to consider.
Yeah, when we have the collection, when we launch the collection, you know, all of them will be accessible through the catalog, obviously, so I'd love for more feedback from you if you see things that, or kind of areas that we don't cover, or.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
there's a lot of different developmental milestones for different age grades and
Right.
whatnot. So I'm more than happy to look at
Thank you.
help or provide resources if you guys want extra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Bouncing off of the expense of trying out different toys that don't work. The kinds of things that I think I would have found helpful were items that children need growing up, but for very short periods of time. So like if your kid is gonna use it for 3 months, but it's an expensive thing, it would be really nice to take that out of the library. Like, you know, like the things they can sit on before they can sit. Yeah, not things they put in their mouth necessarily. Yeah.
Even like those, like the black and white visual cards. for
Yeah, that's
example.
like for like a month.
Yeah, but you
But they're
use
very-
that and then
Right.
you move on, you know, and a lot of Montessori based play, there was
Yes.
a lot of progressive. I think it sounds cool, so I'm excited about this.
We're excited.
I would just like to point out that once again, there was a very cool adult craft event that I have once again been locked out of.
Oh,
In this case, it's Learn Applique with Melissa Leandro. That looked really cool.
And you couldn't get
It's
in?
already booked out.
Sorry.
You couldn't get in?
It is full.
Oh,
I
it's
saw it on
full.
here. I was like, that looks cool. And it is full.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd like to request more of those activities.
I'm sure if he just showed up.
Come in. Perched on the little whiteboard.
These people usually don't show up, they'll sign up for free, it's true.
But
Yeah,
usually there's a wait list, and there wasn't even a wait list. So
well, let's talk after, maybe we can, I don't know the specifics of where that is gonna be held and everything, but maybe we'll give you tips on, you know, whether or not there's gonna be room, so.
Thank you.
I had a quick question about the yearbook project. I loved it. I participated. I kind of came in and out of focus with it, but I really loved it. And I was just, it sounds like it's wrapped up, and I was wondering where that lives moving forward.
Yes, I'm happy.
And also props to everybody who worked on it. And there were just so many cool strands and layers of it, and I just loved it.
So it is not quite wrapped up yet.
Okay.
So we have, these next couple of months through April,
Okay.
are continuing, kind of another chapter of Skokie Yearbook Project, doing some kind of like place-based stuff. So we're gonna be having some pop-ups around, map making, personal landmarks of Skokie. So we're really excited to be doing that, and getting ready to put together an actual yearbook
Oh,
that
okay.
we will share.
Well, and that will go in the 2050 time capsule.
Oh, cool. So it's a physical book.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
is there any digital component to
So,
some of it?
yeah,
Or?
we have a lot of photos of like participation and then ones that go with people's portraits and then some of the things that people made, like we had some Zoom making in one parts of our project that was really cool. So we're gonna be digitizing those things,
Great.
and doing kind of a look back at Skokie Yearbook Project,
Great.
and so yeah, that'll be shared by.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the
So that's
update.
it.
Yeah, I loved it. Great.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Moving on to page 32, the quarterly investment update.
Allison prefers these, so Allison, if you want to say anything about it, feel free.
This is the fourth quarter investment for the calendar year 2025. And it includes both the general fund and the reserve fund. As the memo states, the total balance of the general fund for the interest accounts was $2,159,276. And this fund earned $318,483 in interest during the year. The reserve fund balance as of December 31st was about $5.5 million, and this fund earned $241,641 in interest. This is a decent decrease from the prior years, which is partially because our property taxes have yet to come in, and the decreasing interest rates.
And we've been monitoring 4,000, and I'm just waiting for that day when that revenue comes in, and we're expecting it any day now. A lot of library folks are kind of sharing updates. Did you get anything? Did you get anything? You know, and so maybe by next week we should start seeing it really flow in. So it's good time because we really need it. So.
I have a question about budgeting relative to the investment portfolio. So when we build our budget, do we build in the interest as a revenue or as like an income stream?
We include interest from any account in when we report or when we budget the projected revenue and expenditures. It includes
It does include, it includes that as potential projected revenue,
Yes,
okay. And then when we do that revenue projection, because obviously you mentioned it, and and keep our eyes on interest rates, like interest rates are potentially even going to continue to go down further. And then obviously there was this hit on the, on the principal balance being lower because of property taxes. So when we build those projections for interest revenue, how are we modeling that? Is it like, how is it super conservative? Are you building, you get where I'm going with this,
Yes,
especially if we're going into budgeting next
We were
year.
literally talking about that this morning.
Okay.
And I asked Allison, like, let's make sure we have a conservative projection for next year. I mean, we expect the revenue to come in, and we expect the spring revenue to follow, soon after, and the fall revenue hopefully will come in a timely fashion. But we always try to, and this is just for everything, honestly, in terms of revenue, we always try to be conservative in our projections so that we don't have any surprises in a bad way. We'd rather be surprised with more revenue than less.
I mean, especially if we have the balances in these funds, I mean.
This year it hit us. I mean, it not hit us in a really, it wasn't like devastating, but it's significant when, we don't get $7 million of revenue and we're not gaining interest on that for a number of months, So yeah, it's not pleasant to see that, but that was really out of our hands, of course,
Okay, I was just making sure that when we look to the next budget, that we're taking all of those potential factors into account, interest rates possibly going down further, a delay in receiving property taxes.
For sure, yeah, we always try to be conservative.
Okay.
So this is for just FYI only, so there's no action required on it.
Any other questions or comments before we move on? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
can we move on then to the youth and teen service presentations?
Yeah, we had sort of a light agenda, so, and I thought that this would be a great opportunity for the board to meet our new youth services manager, Sophie Kenny. So Sophie started with us in, I always forget, is that May? Okay. And Laurel Dooley, our team services manager, who's been here for a number of years, but I wasn't sure how many of you actually have interacted with Laurel, or I think it's been, she's never presented here before, so I thought it would be great to see, both of them and have them share maybe like a 10-minute presentation each on what they're doing under Amy's leadership as a public services director, of course, and then, of course, if you have any questions for them, they'll be happy to answer your questions. But yeah, I know there's a lot of interest from the board about how we're serving youth and teens and families, so I thought this would be of interest.
Thank you.
So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay. I'm sure you already worked it out. Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone so much for allowing me to come and just share a little bit about the youth services team. So, Jason, go to the next slide. So youth services, we provide the spaces, programs, materials, activities, and access to knowledge for children and those who love them. So our primary audience is kids from birth through grade 5 and their caregivers. And under the umbrella of youth services, we have 3 service points. The kids desk in the very busy kids room, the boom box, which is now transitioned to kind of a tween space for grades 3 through 6, and then the youth lab, which provides technology access with computers for kids up to 8th grade. And then this was our staff, oh, sorry, that's fine. That was our staff day photo, and we all, right, like the spirit of youth librarianship to just, show off our inner children. Yeah, so we like to have a lot of fun, but like what I say, like, you see us up there, we're singing, we're dancing, we're reading stories, that looks like we're having a great time, and we are, but everything that we do is built with intention, right? When we're singing, we're showing kids how in early literacy, when you're elongating words, you're showing the different parts of sound, and that really helps with phonological awareness. When we're dancing, we're really helping build gross and fine motor skills to really help with, physical development. So yes, we make our jobs look fun, but we're very serious about what we do. And that's why we make it look easy, because we love it so much. So thanks, PJ. So this is our team. We have youth services specialists whose main role is to focus on helping staff our service points and provide information and readers advisory services. We have youth services librarians that, in addition to helping staff our service points, also work a lot with programming and providing support for community engagement, as well as helping support a lot of the library-wide initiatives that we have here at Skokie. I also have another member of my leadership team for youth services. I have a youth services supervisor, Maria, and then I am obviously the manager. So we do have a very large department, and it's great that we have so much support. So I'm really lucky to have a great team. So here's just some photos I wanted to share with you all, and I pulled a quote from our youth services mission. Previously, I want to say about a year and a half ago, the youth services department actually was able to work with a consultant to kind of really hone in on what we believe our mission, our values, the pillars of our work are, and our specific goals are, to really realign the work that we were doing, and just making sure that everybody on the team had the same expectations, and that we're really committed to moving forward in a very positive way. So basically, our mission is that we are joyful, respectful, knowledgeable team members who support one another to provide intentional and meaningful services to the children and family in Skokie, that we have time for reflection, and that we grow both professionally and personally as a team, so that we can contribute nimble and responsive services to enrich the lives of all members of our community. And the photos are just highlights of some of the many different ways that we do that. So when I'm talking about our service points, I rated it before, we have the kids desk where we provide reference, readers advisory, and every month we have a different department theme where we really try to provide self-directed activities to engage folks, whether that is an I Spy box or really popular scavenger hunts right now. We're doing a voting where kids can decide whether or not they want to vote for a trip on a train or a trip on a boat. And surprisingly, most kids are being trained. I would pick both. Yeah, it's really interesting to see that, like, just how they want to share their opinions and really want to take ownership of the space. And so, yeah, it's really great just to have those interactions. The boom box, as I said before, recently underwent a service model transition where it went from kind of this space for grades K and up that was more STEAM focused, to now we're really trying to foster some independent learning experiences and social connection for tweens. We launched this new service model in September, and now, 4 months in, we're really seeing how successful it's been. We've had kids who, are coming in here and maybe don't have a lot of friends or didn't come to the library with a friend group, making new friends. Like one of the best days of my time in there was I had a child come in, didn't know anybody and was just kind of like looking around, and the role of the staff member in the space is to really help them explore the space and support with activities they want to go in. So sometimes they're playing a board game, or they're talking about 3D printing, or they're showing them, the craft project that we have. But I really want to build that engagement and really help build trust in a relationship independent of like their caregivers with the library, so that it prepares them to move on to teen, where they're coming to the library on their own, where they're really, engaging with some of the things there. And I had a whole bunch, like I had maybe 3 or 4 kids come in, and most were on their own, and they started doing a craft together, and I was like, oh, does anybody feel like playing a game? And they're like, oh no, we're okay. They were all very kind of like shy. I think developmentally at that age, you're not ready to quite put yourself out there yet. But I had one brave kid who went and picked up the Trouble board game and like went up and was like, will you play this game with me? And it just like melted my heart, because like these are the kinds of interactions that we really want to promote. We want to provide these opportunities for kids to make new friends, to feel confident meeting new people, and to do it in a safe space, right? Where they are not going to be judged. There's going to be somebody there to support them, because you can bet if every kid said no, I'd be like, I'll play with you, right? So it's just the kinds of interactions that we really want to support and that we're seeing a lot in the boombox. And then finally, the lab, where we're providing access to technology. Something that I've been really excited to do since I've started here is I have a technology background, and so I've been offering 3D printing classes. I'm going to start doing video game coding classes this month in the lab, and it's been really great. The classes are registered and they're full, and they have wait lists, and kids are always asking when's the next one. I'm really excited to start offering more 3D printing opportunities in the boombox. That's like the #1 thing that people are asking us for. So it's really great to see kids get excited about new services. So one of the major things that we do is programming. All of our librarians have specific focus groups or focus audiences that they try to support with their programs. So in youth, we break that out with birth through age 5, grades K-2, grades 3 through 5. And then we also have librarians that focus on our underserved audiences. And those designations are English language learners, immigrants and refugees, LGBTQIA+, the accessibility audience, children with disabilities, and under-resourced families. So every programming cycle, we're looking at these groups and making sure that we have a really equitable, balanced offering, not only for the ages, but some of the other audiences. And then, within the organization, we collaborate with a lot of our other departments to help support their initiatives, but also when our priorities overlap. We work very closely with community engagement. So our librarians go out and they do the early childcare center visits, providing story times and other kinds of support. We go to almost all the schools, which is really fun to, you know, have them come back and be like, you were at my school today, you talked about this book. We also offer in-house library tours. It makes us feel like a celebrity. It's really the best.
You are.
You are.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, and then we also help support the book bike and bookmobile teams. And then with advisory and info services, there is a book match for kids. So I'm not sure if you guys take advantage of that, but it's really fun to be able to provide suggestions and recommendations for kids that are personalized on their own likes and tastes. We do a lot of intergenerational programming. I think that's something that we're seeing now is that we're having a lot of adults come to our programs and like also want to do the craft. And we're like, let's just do a family craft program, right? Like get everybody in there. And then we also are, I think, moving towards doing some more caregiver targeted programming. We've seen a lot of interest about, you know, the rise in use of like bullying in social media and like some other things, especially around literacy and the changes in some of the literacy curriculum that's happening in our community. So really trying to provide education and then support for caregivers. And then finally, teen, we partner very closely with, not only with, you know, crossover programming, but also we're so lucky to have young people in our community want to give back in the form of volunteering. So we have them, you know, hold pop-up programs or help facilitate programming as well as help prep and stuff for that week, that help prep for our programs as well. And then I just kind of wanted to highlight some of our goals that we have. So like I said, with the activity room and Boo Box service model transitions, really kind of getting feedback from the community. How is it working out in these new spaces and these resources that we're offering? What are the things that we could be doing better? What aren't we doing that you'd like to see us doing? And then I touched on this a little bit earlier, but really honing in on supporting new and emerging readers and their caregivers. With our reader collection, we find that that's probably the #1 inquiry that we get, where we're spending a lot of time educating. This is what a level 1 reader is. These are the kinds of things that you're looking for in the book. Big print, lots of white space, illustrations that help support the context. And that's not something that like parents know. Right? Like you don't get a how to teach or help your kid to read manual. At least I never did. And so we really want to be able to support that and kind of demystify that process while also really, you know, working with the schools and help complementing what they're doing. And then finally, as Richard alluded to, you know, post the renovation, just the way that people are interacting with our spaces is different, and just the way that they're using some of the furniture or the way that things that have, you know, shifted in terms of like how folks are using some of the toys in the play area or the structure. So we'd really just like to take another look at that and see how we can better utilize those spaces. And then I just wanted to share a quick recap of some of the awesome things our team is doing. So 755 people, that's the average daily traffic count in the kids' room, which is phenomenal. Like we're so lucky to have such a well-loved library. But again, that also speaks to how some of our spaces can be showing wear or, you know. So also we did 706 total youth services programs, which I think is an amazing number. And then out of all of those programs that were attended, we had 26,353 folks that we served, which I think is just speaks to the commitment to, you know, not serving just the kids, but also their families. And so thanks for listening.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
You can also ask after we're open too if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. And I want to talk to you about team services, some of the things that we do and offer here in the library and in community for.
What's up?
There's,
Bottom
there's
right
a
corner.
gesture that present at the very top.
All good.
Okay, so I'm starting with this, let's go capture this, Jane. This is a poster that went out to schools. So that, and this, the audience for this was to them through the library. But I really love this. This is, periodically I make this the background of my desktop, just to like, you know, anchor me in some of our like services that resonate, and the things that we're really going for, library. So this is our teen services staff. That's me, I'm Laurel. I have two full-time librarians, Rachel and Lil. They're both really passionate about working with young people, and everybody on the team has something like a little bit different to offer, which is really cool. Rachel's really into tabletop games, and Lil is a bird nerd, can like identify. She's like, oh, look at all the starlings outside your window. I was like, you're great. And also does our pollinator garden and a lot of our climate focused programs, like our intergenerational climate optimism in action event. And then down here I have 3 specialists. So we have one who just left for his first full-time librarian job. So we're excited for Eddie, and soon we're going to be onboarding somebody who's transferring from a different department. So we're excited about that. But this is the current team. Earl has been with us for many years, and he is our like PlayStation like guru. Like I always like it when the kids have questions and Earl's there. So I'm like, let me check. And you know, the kids love him. They call him Uncle or Uncle. Where's Uncle Earl? Or they come back and visit and remember him. And Brittany and AT are both newer. So Brittany's been here for a little over a year. AT's been here for about 6 months. Brittany is super into all kinds of crafty things. So she's just like, you'll walk into the space and she's got the mini sewing machine now. And she just like, she's also really into Disney, which is fun. And AT is our soon to be not newest, but been here for about 6 months. She has a long experience as an educator, taught high school English, AP, and has been such an asset for the academic support that we try to offer in the space. And so really, like, I always think about our team as like these puzzle pieces that fit together. Like really every person allows us to like reach some different types of teams. And you just see that naturally when teens start to form relationships with certain individuals, they just get like, they're sort of like, oh, is Rachel here? And so it's really great. It feels really special. So I want to talk to you about relationships. So we have a really relational approach in teen services. And so I just wanted to share a couple of the frameworks that like really inform a lot of what we do, both like in our teen room, in kind of like informal activities, and then also through programs and events. Oh, I should say, I did not say earlier, we serve 6th through 12th grade students in the teen room. So combined space, you're probably familiar with that. But middle school and high school, like that 6th through 12th grade range is really very big. And so, you know, I've had people be like, oh, in the same room, how does that work? And, you know, I mean, it works because of the team that we have and the capacity we have to staff the way that we do. So we have team staff in from after school until library close every weekday. And then on weekends, we're here from 12 to 6. So it's really just about the fact that like we have specialists and librarians who are in the space, ready to welcome and help everybody, help kind of like mediate any conflicts in the space, make sure that there's sort of like equitable access for people, that the high schoolers aren't, you know, intimidating the middle schoolers out of the video game area or whatever. And that's what like helps it flow. But really at the heart of everything is the relational approach. And so it's really motivated by knowing that for a lot of young people, a lot of teens coming into the library to spend time, they are, well, first of all, it's a wonderful thing that they want to spend time in the library when they're free time. Like, I absolutely love that. I love it when we're busy. I love looking around and being like, all these people are choosing to be here. And it's really like freaking awesome. You know, for middle schoolers, they are in some of their early experiences being like unaccompanied in public spaces. And like, there's a lot of learning that goes on with that. You know, I found anecdotally, like, we have a lot more like sort of like, hey, language correction with middle schoolers than with high schoolers. Because I think they, you know, they got something to prove, and they're new, it's all new to them. So, you know, my team addresses that in an age appropriate way. So there is an organization called Search Institute. I should have put a QR code on here, but I did not. They're really great, and they have they have a couple of different frameworks that work super well together that we like to use a lot in team services that like inform our approach. So the developmental relationships framework is really, I mean, it's just like so great and wonderful. A lot of what they do in Search Institute focuses on youth-facing organizations for out of school time, but they're also really wonderful for like classroom environments. But what I really love about it is like, you know, when I was kind of first starting out in libraries, it felt like a lot of what I was taking was coming from school settings, and there's a lot of crossover, but there are a lot of things that are so specific and different, you know. So, but okay, so these are the 5 elements to strong developmental relationships, which are basically like the types of relationships with kind of like non-parent trusted adults, like in community and school. And like the kind of like the magic number is like at least 3 for a young person. If they have someone at home who really like supports like their spark, what makes them like really feel locked in and inspired, someone at home, someone at school, and another adult in the community. So for a lot of young people, where they're accessing that other adult in the community is through the library. And a lot of them are coming here, you know, 2-3 days a week or more throughout middle school or high school, sometimes in these seasons, or they'll pop back and all of a sudden they're like 6 feet tall. It's really nice. I wish I had a picture of you this morning, and it was really like a situation. I did like 6th grade. So provide support. You know, this is where we're advocating for young people. We're helping to develop their confidence. We're listening. We do a lot of listening, yeah, that's what that looks like. Challenge growth is it's kind of like a sweet way to say like hold accountable, manage behavior. You know, it's kind of funny in surveys that are done around these developmental relationships in a lot of different settings. Young people report that challenge growth is the one that they see the most, because that's the one that involves like, you know, holding people accountable to rules. And it's totally necessary, and it's very supportive. And so, you know, we hold that in balance with the other things that we do for relationships. We you know, expect great things out of our young people. We are consistent. So like, you know, we're going to, you know, do our jobs with integrity and follow our procedures, even if someone doesn't like that on that day. And like, you know, I have been iced out. This one girl who was so spirited gave me the cold shoulder for a solid like 6 months. It was remarkable. I was just like so impressed. I was like, she's gotta be Scorpio, and she was. But she came around like, and we were good. I still remember like the thought when she like responded when I was like, hi. I was like, oh, back in there. So a lot of it is belonging, and like, you know, I wasn't going to like not do the things required to hold her accountable, even if it made her feel like I wasn't going to be her trusted adult anymore and I had to be somebody else for a little while. That's okay. Oh my God. My husband was like, are you sure you can do 10 minutes? I can't. Let me keep going.
Do it. Sorry.
Don't worry about that.
So, you know, express care. This is something I really love. It's so important to us. It's like, we really try to learn our young people's names, and it's so interesting. So sometimes people come in and it's their first time there, and you never know, maybe we're going to see them once and they kind of roll through and then they're gone. Sometimes it's the first time they come in a long history of them being a library kid, and we just don't know that yet. So we really try to learn people's names. A lot of my staff will keep notebooks with them and like try to write down like who's coming in with who, and try to, you know, because it really matters to a young person when you remember them and, you know, something about them. Like it's really great. So that's something we do. Expand possibilities and share power are 2 that I think like really take a lot of intentionality. And expand possibilities is something we really try to do through a lot of our programming too, like our future readiness programming. But you know, it's also making connections with people. So it's a lot of it has to do with listening. So like expanding possibilities might be noticing that someone is working really hard on, we had this kid who was working on a physics project, and he had to do a roller coaster, and it kept falling apart. So he was coming in with a lot of different materials each day and like asking for some other materials, and he was really like very much getting into it. And I was really happy for him because his grades had been in a rough place before, but he was locked in and ready to go. And like being able to say to him, like, I'm noticing how much you're sticking with this thing, even though it keeps falling apart. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like not everybody has that kind of stamina for something like this. And you also really seem to have an eye for like structure, like, I don't know, are you interested in engineering or anything like that? Just like I noticed this, have you thought of this? Or like, oh, you really need to talk to this person. And like making that connection is what can expand possibilities for young people. And then shared power is another one that if you're not very intentional about this, it is really hard to make it happen because as adults, it's a lot easier just to make all the calls and do it our way. Sharing power means bringing young people to the table and giving them some choice. And it's like, you know, when we're doing a movie night, we try to have a couple options and let them vote. You know, we try to do like a totally team design display in the teen room at least once a year. Like Teen Library Council is a way that we get a lot of young people's input on our services so that they can be informed by what, you know, what they're interested in. And so there are little ways to do that. And then the other Frameworks Research Institute is called the 40 Developmental Assets. I'm gonna go different these ones. So there's basically like 2 blocks of developmental assets. And the idea is that like in an asset-based approach, you're looking for like the things that young people have going for them, the strengths that they have that help, you know, put them on a path toward a really successful future. And so there are external and internal assets. So the external assets, these are some of the categories of things that like communities and organizations can do to create like kind of like an ecosystem that allows like young people to thrive. And so these are some of those factors, you know, and a lot of these relate to the developmental assets too. And then the next slide, the internal assets are strengths that the young people bring that we can help like support and like bring forward. And so this is like the quick snapshot version. I don't know if you can tell I'm a total nerd about this. A lot more detail, but these are just some of the things that really help like offset challenges that happen for anybody, or just like the growing pains of like becoming an adult in the world, but also just the reality, like what we know about young people. Like right now, like Sophie mentioned, like bullying, you know, there's you know, there's a lot of weight. We all had our own experiences in middle school and high school too, but there's a lot that like we can't personally relate to anymore. And so I'm not able to tell somebody, you know, how to maneuver through that. And that's not really what my role is anyway. It's to be there for them, to you know, guide them towards like appropriate resources. Like you know, sometimes we have kids who are like, oh, you're my therapist, and we're like, eh. No, we're not. So glad you love talking to me. I'll listen to you anytime. And you know, therapy is such a specific thing, and like there's so many great organizations locally. Do you know about Turning Point? Like because we want people, we like being in our lane is a really great thing. There's so many great things in the library lane, and we don't need to get out of it. Okay, and so those are the things that work together: developmental relationships, developmental assets, match made in heaven. Okay, I just want to show you some pictures of just like snapshots of the teen room and like some programs and things. Charles in the middle is one of our young people who actually took part in the Teen Meet the Department sessions that we did. So he is in college now at Oakton, and he's so he came in, like he hosted our Jeopardy with this really great like deadpan humor, and kind of helped frame that. But so this is Charles and some of his friends, and they're just doing their after school thing. And these are a couple of our teens who we really love. I love this picture too, because there's so much like joy, and like I love the time in your life, and this could be any time in your life really, where you want to go out in public and a big sparkly star on your face. Just love that. Just love it. Do you're great. And video gaming is a big deal in the teen room. I am not a huge video game person. I do like Mario Kart, but you know, video games are. I really love when we have teens who are into gaming come to do it at the library, because overwhelmingly, like the goal is to do it with your headset in the basement. You know what I mean? And so when kids come together to like game in real life, like that's something to celebrate, even when it gets a little noisy and we have to have people like adjust their volume. And my quick anecdote on that is that I had a teen help me learn how to play NBA 2K, and I managed to make a basket, and I was like
whoa! And then I was like, oh my God, I get it. I'm sorry, I get it now. So that was good.
All right, what do we got next? Okay, I like this one because it reminds me of just playing Princess and Princesses. There's a lot of like nostalgia in teen services, and like it's something that the young people seek out. It's something we love to support for them, and like just seeing like the unbridled joy. The thing is like, you know, teens, they are, you know, they're adolescents, and like they're also like they're kids, you know, they're kids in a different state of development, but like sometimes I think adults can see them and expect things that may be a little bit unfair based on what we know about what their brain development is at, and they need a lot of like care and fun and joy, like everybody does. This is one of my absolute favorite pictures ever. I've got this picture, I'm so obsessed with it. And this is the group that's probably downstairs right now. They are here all of the time. And I love it when young people take out their instruments and jam together. It happens every now and then. We've had a little guitar, we've had a little clarinet, we've had a little viola. Yep. And it just feels like it's a self-expression thing. And so like I love this picture because it feels like it captures like the sense of comfort, this feeling that this is like a community living room for like our teens, and like that's something that's like so what we're going for. So it's really cool when you see this one. That's when it comes out. What else we got? Okay, cool. Doing the hard work of high school. I know the teen room can be really like, it's a very active place, and also it really is a place where people get amazing stuff done. One of my favorite things is walking through and looking at the whiteboards during final season, because like if you want to just be like the kids are all right, go ahead and do that, because you see them do these like really incredible equations, and like, you know, it's just like, oh cool, you guys are doing all that, that's great. Yeah. Oh, I love this picture so much. Okay, so this is one of our teens who like wandered into youth when they were doing Read to a Dinosaur, and like he was like, can I do it? And one of the librarians was like, sure, would you like to do it? And he was like, yeah. So he did, and I love that. Like, I think it started out as kind of a bit, but like he had a blast, and like I love this picture because it's like, you know, it's just one of those little things. It's like a great story. And then this is one of the same teams, but like these are some of our young people who are stopping by one of the fan book table, I think. And this is the group that made the. Do you remember the vote?
Yeah. Debian Tech and Underpants, that's whack.
I really liked it. You know, I think sometimes people are like wary of engaging with teens, you know, because like we all, like, even if it's not like very forefront to us, everybody has a little bit of adolescent baggage, and like, but we worry that like, oh, they're just gonna think I'm uncool, or like, and a lot of the times they're not worried about you at all, I promise, you know. But it's really nice sometimes, like, just to like not count them out, like, you know, they have opinions to share, and like they, you know, have reflections on the things that we're talking about library wide. Like I really love it when they come to tabling events and give their perspectives, and like there are always lots of like surprising situations. They're always good to have candy that'll bring it. So let's see.
That was the last one.
Yeah, that's a little snapshot.
It was 10 minutes.
What?
We'll all stand by you though.
Let the record show it was 10 minutes. But as you can see, I mean, I'm so proud of, we're also proud of like the work that Laurel and so people do and lead with their teams, of course, and we have such good youth and teen librarians and staff. So, other questions?
I just want to say I'm beyond impressed, like beyond impressed, and I'm so excited that I have a 9-year-old, and he just called himself a tween the other day. I was falling off my chair. So, you know, we're heading your way. But I don't know if I should speak for everyone, but I really appreciate everything you do. So.
And me and my kids are in the kids section. PJ sees us probably once a week.
Easy.
I was maybe more. It's embarrassing. No, we're obsessed. We're obsessed. Yeah.
was just really nice hearing all the intentionality behind the decisions that are being made, and that it's not like a stagnant thing, it's something that you're developing and working with the team to, like, puzzle pieces. That was great hearing about each individual. Just thank you for the work you do.
Made me think about when I was younger, going to my youth services library and then, you know, going more to, I think back in the day it was called young adult maybe, I don't know, yeah. The YA section, and, it was great, but I like seeing how things have evolved over time to
Yeah.
especially meet the needs of my marketing lingo, modern day consumers, that's not the right word, sorry. But you know, to where kids and teens are today, you know, what.
They are
impacts them.
consumers, I would call them
Okay,
that, that works.
They are. But you know, just thinking about kids' needs today and how technology and just how different it is now than when I grew up. And it's really exciting to see that the library evolves with that and is really at the forefront of, these very positive changes, so.
Yeah.
My youth library was right here on the second floor. And I remember two things, an aquarium, and I remember a very
Yeah.
colorful rug.
Yeah.
Those are the two things but my sister was 2.5 years younger than me. And back then we used to write our names in the books. She said every book she picked up, my name was in there. So I give my mom credit for bringing us here.
Now you're a board member.
Never thought that, but yeah. But I love our library. I mean, I've been coming here for a long time.
How old can you drop off your kids and have them like roam alone?
How old do they have to be to do
Yeah.
that?
8 years old.
So like my son can do it next year by himself?
Well, that's your call as
Yeah.
yeah.
Nobody tell him.
Yeah.
That's crazy, 8? That's really young.
Really.
Just make sure he doesn't see this recording.
Delete.
Yeah.
As an educator, this speaks to my heart here. And I think it's just very clear to me and very apparent that we have the right people in the right places, because not everybody can necessarily work with kids all day long. And I think one thing about that is that, like you had kind of both mentioned and alluded to, is that it looks like fun, play-based, we're just singing and dancing, but there is a lot of intentionality that goes with that and a lot of rationale into how that impacts our young learners, right? So I really appreciate, as both a parent and an educator, that you really take the time to look at all of that and being able to foster the love of community, the love of learning, being able to use our resources in ways that are going to help challenge them and also play on their strengths, which is really a really difficult balance when you're talking about anywhere between, your 3-month to 2-year-old all the way up into, I have a junior, my oldest is a junior in high school, right? So that's a big span. And really just your enthusiasm and passion for the things that you're doing is very apparent, and I think that you're doing great things in those departments. So thank you so much for sharing. And I'll talk education stuff with you all day.
I would talk to them, like, I feel like I could talk about this topic
Mhm.
all night.
Yeah.
It's just, you guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to page 35, approval of social media policy.
Okay, so as I mentioned, communications and multimedia manager, longest department name ever, Jane Hanna is here.
Picked it myself, thank you.
Yes, Jane, I think all of you are very familiar with Jane's work and her team's work with all the communication pieces and efforts that we make, but a big part of that is our social media use. So Jane and I got together last week and really started, we have been talking about this for a while actually, but the timing seemed right to bring a policy before the board for consideration. As my memo states, this is kind of to outline how we would handle patron contributed content, in other words, comments on social media posts. So if you have, this was in conversation with Jane and her team, and also our attorney, of course, they vetted the whole thing. Social media policies are pretty common now in public libraries just because of the nature of how ethics have exploded with social media posts and platforms. So, but if you have any questions about what you read or any part of it, we're both happy to share more information or context about the policy itself. But also, if you have any questions about how we're using social media, Jane can definitely address those questions.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So this policy is specific for when people, like we have our internal policy, or I'm guessing for what we post on our sites, but this is for people that interact with our hooks. What if they're, I don't know, it doesn't seem like this would be anything we could regulate, but like, let's say somebody is posting something that is defined as defamation on their own private social media account that then gets blasted out regarding the library. So they're not posting on our books, but they're doing it on their own, but it's still.
Right. That we have no control over other people's.
Of course not, yeah.
Pages, of course.
Okay, so this is just relating to our, okay.
I was really glad to see this documented, and I know that, it's like, I commend everyone of the team's work on social media. I love the content, and I had a question about number 2. I think it might just be the wording, but it says content that promotes discrimination by the government based on race, age, religion, gender, or the protected class. What does by the government mean there? Are you saying, is it content that promotes discrimination based on race, age, etc., as defined by the government? Or it's just was like a weird phrasing I didn't understand.
So, we had to ask our attorney about this as well, but basically what they explained was that discrimination by government is unlawful. So if someone is saying that the government, in other words, us, as a government unit, the library, should discriminate against people, then that could be seen as unlawful and, or, not free speech, and you can take that down. But if someone voices their own kind of biased or perspective or a discriminatory kind of perspective, then but they're not telling us to act on it or believe in something, then it's their free speech to be able to do that. They're protected by that. So
the example in here, that is what helped me understand it. It was saying if someone writes, and this is what I am reading, this is not what I believe. Women are terrible drivers. Again, not what I believe. That's fine. But then if the library says that, the library shouldn't specifically say the library should take driving privileges away from all women employees. That's not okay. So one is more general and one is more like the library is doing something about something.
Right. And I just want to clarify, we're not saying that that's okay or anything, those views, or we're not condoning anything. We're just talking here about what's protected and what's not legal, right? So it's not an endorsement of anything, right? But even if someone is conveying their own personal beliefs, none of this is related to what the library might. None of this should be interpreted as a library condoning or not condoning anything.
Sure.
It's more about protected speech. So.
I think it's just the phrasing tripped me.
Yeah.
Because this is just about comments from the public that may be promoting any discriminatory sentiment. And here we're saying, I guess the government part.
Yeah, I mean, I know it tripped me up as well, and I asked the attorney about it, and it's just what they recommend, if we we don't put by the government, then we're actually veering into, yeah, censoring people, but we define it in a narrow sense that, by the government, then that's actually something we can take action on.
Okay.
So, I know it's hard to hear. It's
Yeah,
tough
if,
to-
if it helps clarify with an example, you know, sometimes there'll be incendiary comments.
Sure.
Because it's social media.
Sure,
And we will get messages from patrons, like private messages saying, you guys should delete these posts.
Right.
You should take this down, that's offensive. And it may be offensive.
right,
But it's still protected speech.
sure, yeah, okay,
So having this policy will help us explain that with more
Got it.
legs than we've been able to. Because it is really frustrating for patrons to see
to see it in
things
your,
that offend them and
Right.
they want us to take action.
Right.
But we really can't.
okay,
Yeah, I know, that was the trickiest part of this policy.
and then one other follow-up was number 4, true threats to any person. Was there any reason why it wasn't elaborated on, like a person, a group, a building, like threats? But like verifiable threats to
I
people
think,
and groups, and
yeah,
like, why is is that legal language that says to any
I
person?
think this is
meaning
the
group?
recommended language,
Okay.
you know, for the attorney, but I would probably, I don't wanna speak for the attorney in this sense, but sometimes specific, in a general sense, sometimes language is used in a policy that is not too narrow, you know,
Right,
and it's
to mean-
broad enough so that we
To
can
include
interpret it to.
Right,
But then, you know, the truth is that when, if we ever come across a situation where we are considering taking action based on this policy, we would consult our attorney, of course,
got it.
and
Okay.
make sure that it, you know, the guidance is what helps us to interpret our own policy, and apply our policy.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
glad to see it in writing.
Sure.
Thank you.
Did they go over what like a true threat is?
I,
Physical, mental, like
mhm,
emotional, like,
yeah. I think in this case, it would be like a physical, yeah, you know, that's what we're
that's what I would
talking
assume, but
about.
never can assume.
Right, right,
So-
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think any like presentation I've seen on this from what attorneys speaking and kind of sharing their guidance, it's always been about like physical harm, right, or
Yeah.
physical threat, not about like kind of, it's not about feelings, right? Like,
Yeah,
hurting
yeah, yeah.
people's feelings. I'm not dismissing that kind of hurt, right, but.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think true threats can also encompass, the doxing of people. That could be a true threat if somebody's like, hey, here's all your information.
Yeah.
Let's go to like your social media page because I'm upset with the comment that was made.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I think it can go
Posting
beyond
someone's
physical.
address.
It's possible, yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's
the
the same.
context
Yeah,
right, of that, yeah.
absolutely.
And again, that's something we would consult our attorney with, of course, and just make sure that we're on solid legal ground if we take any action.
Question on number 7 about the term actual defamation.
Mhm.
Versus,
Like, yeah, it's kind of kind of a twofer, like actually, why is the word actual in there? And then typically when I think of defamation, I also think of libel.
Mhm.
So is there a reason libel was not included?
I'm very into the territory of where I'm not a lawyer, so I.
I know, I
don't
was
Yeah, yeah.
almost thinking, Richard, and I don't know,
Yeah.
and you know,
But this is the recommendation.
tell me what you think, but it sounds like, from just kind of listening, it sounds like we have a lot of questions still about this.
Okay.
So I don't know what everybody else is thinking, but possibly what if we like invited maybe our attorney to maybe come here, or maybe we can compile a list of questions and then have them kind of like addressed at a later time. Because I think that there's some, I don't know, ambiguity. It seems almost like that maybe prior to us voting on it, that maybe we could have a little bit of clarity on our part on how, because it's one thing to have the policy itself, but then when we look at like its implications or its possible interpretations,
Mhm.
that's where it starts to get, you know, a little confusing. So I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. So the question about the term actual defamation,
Yeah,
do you want, I
and
mean,
I'm
did I-
curious why it says actual, to me, when I think actual defamation, it means it has to be proven or something, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
So I'm curious about actual defamation and whether the choice to not include libel
Sure,
is
sure.
on. is on.
Okay, so we can definitely ask those questions. I wanna go back to some of the other questions, or do you want more information and context from what other, in addition to what or do you feel like I satisfied those?
Of the true threats.
I think the true threats should be more
What
specific.
kind of,
Or
Just-
why the understanding of
Yeah.
what would
That
okay,
makes it a
any
true-
person
Yeah.
would be, like, what does that cover?
okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, we'll get more
I mean, just I
context
feel
on
like
that.
these days, someone can say like, you truly threatened me emotionally and make a good argument for that, because it's not very specific in the policy.
I'll ask about that, to see if there's any like kind of additional language maybe that we can use to clarify that.
Yeah.
And I'll also ask if they indicate that it's best not to get too specific, then I'll relay that to the board.
Sure.
Yeah, I think most importantly to Jane and her team, that as long as there is clarity and understanding among the team in terms of how you activate and manage that, I've been on the other side of social media accounts as well, it can be insane, to be honest, to manage and deal with incoming content that you kind of have to leave because of protected speech, and just making sure that your team is empowered to make those calls, and for us as a board to be able to explain it to anyone who asks, if should anything arise in this climate, that is the place where this kind of speech kind of can pop off. So I think it would be helpful to be able to understand.
Yeah. I'm happy to bring some of those questions back. Were there other additional questions?
What was the decision made to have commenting available at all? Is it like the community building, or is it just, is there?
At the beginning, I mean, Jen can talk a little bit about.
Yeah. Well, for most of the channels that we're talking about, Facebook, that's the bread and butter of it. You know, it's never just about pushing content out in one direction. It's about creating opportunities to connect, right? The landscape of social media has changed very dramatically, exponentially, even in the last couple of years, I would say. And so I can foresee a future where there are other kinds of social spaces that are less about that interaction. But for right now, to turn off commenting is tantamount to deleting your account. There just isn't much point to being there unless you're allowing some forum to take place.
And also, I think it should be said that we've already presented this kind of limited forum. And so I don't think our attorneys would advise us to take it away all of a sudden, you know what I mean? So we have to be kind of thoughtful and deliberate about even those choices, because that could be seen as suppressing. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And this is really complicated stuff. Who knew, like, 15 years ago, this is what we would be kind of sift through, you know? Yeah, it's not easy.
And like you said, it's gonna evolve again.
Yeah.
Right, so we want it to be both broad and narrow. Which is
It's
kind of a
also
difficult
worth
beat.
saying our strategy has shifted too, and we, in a large part, have pivoted away from social media as one of our main channels in just the last 5 years. Because people are preferring these kind of more safe, closed, we call them digital campfires. So that's like on Steam or on a WhatsApp group or Snapchat, things like that that are closed. Everybody's opting into it. Brands and organizations don't have a place in spaces like that. The spaces that we can occupy that are like that are our email, because you're subscribing to that, you're opting into that. So we can still cultivate some of the good connection and engagement. It just doesn't happen in the same way that it used to in places like Facebook and Twitter. So while this policy is helpful, again, we are sort of shifting away from social media as being one of our leads.
And also, is there a way to just not allow any links in comments?
Any
There
what?
shouldn't be any reason, a link.
Oh, like,
I don't think there should be any reason why a commenter should be posting a link first.
It varies by platform. So like Instagram doesn't allow posting any links at all. Facebook does, and that's up to the platform that's provided. Even though they're
I'm
both
saying-
owned by Meta, like the.
Right.
Between the two platforms.
So I'm saying, according to our policy, is it possible to limit that?
I
Because I
think
can't think of-
that what, yeah, again, I can ask that question for sure, but my understanding is that it's not the link itself, does a link violate any of these criteria, then we
Right.
can, restrict.
Like it's for, if someone's putting, hey, buy my shirts at
Right,
whatever.
then
yeah, that's
that falls
violates the
under number
commercial
8, right,
policy.
exactly, but
But they could be posting a link to like register for a library event,
Mhm.
and then they can click on that link.
Yeah.
so we just have to be careful that we're talking about like the protected speech and what's not protected, and then kind of from that point, design the policy. I hope that helps.
And it should be said that the vast majority of our comments are engaged, helpful,
Yeah.
thoughtful community
Yeah.
members who are pointing people in the direction of library resources or connecting with their neighbors and friends. Like, there is still good stuff happening in these spaces.
Right.
It's just, there's also bad stuff.
Yeah,
We
for
need to have
sure.
tools.
And is there someone monitoring it like at all times?
Yeah.
Just-
Yes, Amber Hayes is our communications coordinator. And she is.
Nice.
I'm assuming it goes through like, when people say they post and they tag Skokie Life, like, do we comment on other people's feeds, or do we not do that?
We do.
We do,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and, if it's like another library, certainly we'll interact. There's a lot of kind of boosterism between peer organizations. If it's a patron, Amber will DM them, will direct message them to inquire whether we might reshare some of the
That
things.
happened to
they
me.
post. Did it?
I created keychains. My daughter and her best friend were in school together. I mean, they're 5, but they were in school together for all of their youth. And then they finally this year separated schools. And so during the summer, they made like matching best friend keychains. And I posted it on my story on Instagram, and someone from the library was like, oh my gosh, can we repost this? I was like, go right ahead. I'm famous.
And there's lovely things, like people
Yeah.
post like their own kind of virtual tours of the space. They do things with advisors, like I love this book display, so we love all of that, and we do reshare with them.
Okay, cool.
And on, I don't know, but this is really considered social media, but like on Google reviews or whatever, I know that our Amber and you might
Yeah.
kind of comment based on a review, we might say thank you or follow up if we need to clarify something. So we
Yeah.
do that too, right?
Absolutely, on Google and on Yelp.
Oh, that's great.
Were there any other questions about the policy? Like I said, it's totally, easy to ask these questions to attorney and bring it back next month. Clarification. If you think of anything else, please just email me and we'll fold that into some of the questions that we'll ask.
Thank you. So we are not going to go to vote.
Well, we can table, yeah.
You will table it and we'll bring that back onto the agenda for next month.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to page 39, the approval of audio and visual media policy.
It's kind of like a sister policy, it relates to what Jane and her team do. Jane, as you saw from some of the presentations,
We were well represented.
all those photos were taken by our CMA team, especially our photographer Audrey. So, yeah, we want a policy just to kind of make sure that we're clear about our use of our photos and videos and audio content, and also how we would handle requests from other parties for those that content. So, Jane, is there anything you would want to add? Or?
Just to say that currently, we only have language similar to this on our events. There are a couple of sentences on registered events that say we may take photos at our events. So what this policy really helps us do is expand that scope so that, it's a public building, so we're within our rights to be taking photos there anyway, but it helps us say why we're doing it and how it will be shared. Our staff photographer Audrey is incredible at connecting with people. She always has conversations with folks she photographs in the library. She introduces herself. She's always wearing a name tag. at programs. Sometimes it's the PAs that will make an announcement beforehand, introducing her, making sure everybody's aware of what's going on, giving them the option to not participate. We have some protocols for that in place, particularly around children. But this really helps us sort of make that more of a blanket thing across the board. And we do get a lot of requests for those photos, again, because Audrey is visible and known. People want to see the photos. And we're happy to share in certain circumstances. This really helps clarify what those circumstances are and how we will share those photos.
I have a quick question about this. I've worked in spaces where there was originally consent and then we got requests to take things down, especially in digital spaces because a person's circumstances changed or
Sure.
for many reasons. So I was just curious. And a lot of times we have said, we'll take it down, but in the digital world, like there are many ways that you can still access a photo once it's up. So I'm just curious if you've gotten those kinds of requests and how you would handle that if you came across.
I don't recall specifics where someone said it's okay, now it's not okay.
Mhm.
But were that to happen, it would be very straightforward for our team to flag that. We use a digital asset management system called Canto, which is like a big searchable database where we store all of our photos. It has, pardon me, the ability to add tags, keywords, comments.
Awesome.
And we have a protocol in place, if there's ever an occasion, and it's rare, where something gets uploaded to Canto, but it's embargoed, meaning it's not okay to share with the public. That's now clearly outlined in all caps in the file name, it's noted in the comment, so we could frankly, in a situation like that, I would probably just say, let's delete it completely, so it's not even searchable in the database. But we do have protocols in place already for saying, take these off the table for sharing.
If it's something on one of our sites, then presumably we would be able to just also take it down.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if it's print materials, if it's been in a newsletter.
Right.
We can't redact everything, as you said, if it's in digital space, but we can totally do it in the digital spaces we control.
Not that this should be in the policy, but related to the standard operating procedures around how we use the media that you've collected. Do you inform the patrons or whomever is part of that media how their photographs will be used? So for example, there's a difference between you may put me up on a social media post or I'm getting in the mail a Skokie newsletter and my face is flashed all across the front page of the library's newsletter that comes out. So do we inform folks of how the media will be used, what types of media will be used, and how long the media will be used? So at some point, do we cycle that out to say, now we're no longer using this content from 4 or 5 years ago, and that's been cycled out?
That's a great question. So currently, informally in the conversations that Audrey is having, our staff photographer, she will explain, we may use these for promotional purposes in print and digital spaces, but it's a very quick verbal transaction. That language is also in the disclaimers on events. So patrons that are attending events will have had an opportunity to see something that says print and digital, including our social media channels. None of the language is time bound. So it doesn't say, after 5 years, we won't use it anymore. Frankly, as long as we're able to have a staff photographer, I don't see that materials have a shelf life because we're always able to take new ones and, kind of the database of what we call library stock is freshened every single day that Audrey is at work, and when we're searching things out, we're trying to use newer ones. But that is not part of any language that we've used in the past.
Well, not the policy, but your operating procedures as a department.
Informally, yes, as I say, because we have inventory that doesn't require us to go back too far in time to find an image that's appropriate.
Like,
I
you
think,
see
in
your
the
daughter, like,
presentation.
she's graduating college. And you see
Right.
from the bracelets, like, oh, that's what it is.
That happens.
That happens.
It's in the Park District.
Oh,
I was already like out of college and I'm flipping through the Park District program guide and there was me at 5 years old in my little ballerina.
That's always something
You were the poster child.
I was like, wait a second.
Wow.
I mean, one of the amazing things about our library is that it's such a dynamic space and it's growing and changing so frequently that the images themselves tell us that they've gone out of date. You know, it's like, oh, we can't use that because everybody's wearing masks. Look, that sign in the background, we don't do that anymore or whatever.
Right.
You know, and my team in image selection is always having conversations about, is this current? Is this, you know, fitting the season? Those people have long sleeves on and we're trying to advertise summer reading, you know,
I think the
so
only
we are.
time we would use something like that is like if we're telling a story of like, I remember like the bookmobile anniversary, we had
Yeah.
photos of like people,
Archiving.
archiving.
Yeah.
Where it's appropriate, you know, that makes sense, you know, but
I have a I can't remember what policy, there's another policy
Yes.
where
appropriate library use book.
it is about how we do not share the records of what people have checked out. So it makes me
Privacy, right.
wonder with audiovisual stuff, if we're taking photographs of people checking books out,
Yeah.
if that is a violation of that other policy. Because
They're all blurred out in this package.
I saw that and I wanted to, I saw like the one girl who had this, I wanted to know if that was done with intent and how that information is protected in your database if you have the raw picture file where it is not, you know, frosted out or whatever. I just want to make sure that if we have pictures of people checking out books, that someone could say this is part of their library record.
But we, Jane and I discussed that, and
Yeah.
that's definitely our approach to that, you know.
Okay,
And every newsletter that comes out, Jane and her staff actually share a preview or draft with me. And I kind of like scan it, so we have like lots of sets of eyes on these things, so. We can
that's just so
definitely-
important
yeah,
with
yeah.
patron privacy.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that, you know, I mean, I wouldn't be happy if someone, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
just-
You can't assume that it's okay. That's a good point.
One of the things that I was wondering about is, if we are giving it to third parties, making sure that our third parties are not like collecting money based off of the images that we have.
This is one of the
Done.
reasons for this
Yeah.
policy, because we do get requests, typically from presenters or performers. They're aware that Audrey was at the program that they led, and they ask us for their photos for commercial purposes. They want to use it in their business card or website, or whatever. Because we don't currently have a policy, it's harder to say no, or say, we'll share it with a watermark, and I'll say, well, we don't want the watermark. Too bad.
Right.
So this will really help
Okay,
smooth
Yeah.
those conversations, where of course we'll share images of you on our stage. If you're a performer, with a watermark, if you use them, please credit the library. This should streamline those
Well,
conversations.
we don't want to put Audrey in a position or any of our staff in a position where like a presenter or performer is dictating to them how to take a photo for their website. right? So
Right.
Audrey's our photographer, right, for the
Yeah.
library.
for our purpose.
Yeah.
Frankly,
exactly.
setting an expectation that that's a service we provide.
Right,
You know,
right.
where Audrey can't be everywhere, like, we're making strategic choices about where she is. So we don't want people to think like, oh, great, I'll get a batch of photos for my show at the library.
Yeah.
Right.
I noticed that the language you use is very specific, like you were saying, to the current social media landscape. Is it possible to include language for like systems that haven't may come into development in the coming years? Like I know that copyright agreements are like insane right now, we're like, throughout the universe.
Right,
it's all
right.
copyright. Yeah. Did you want to include something like that, or is it intentionally just what we're doing right now?
It's a great question that I don't have a good answer to. I mean, it has me thinking about trustee Whitehead's question as well. I think, again, because we are able to capture frequent and current life of the library photos, and we have a team that can produce materials that are very in the now, I'm not so worried about that. But it's an interesting consideration.
And maybe this
Well,
kind of, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, you know, one of the things too is, you know, we go back and we update these policies on a cyclical basis, right? So as media changes, we'll be able to include those or have it reflect based off of what the current times are.
Yeah, yeah. And this might be, with the word copyright, that's a good question. Might be something that, what I was talking about before, where we're intentionally kind of like open-ended a little bit on this, so that it's like, it leaves room for interpretation by us in terms of how we will implement this policy or apply this policy. So, with our attorneys.
Any other questions or comments? Then do I have a motion to approve the audio and visual media policy as presented? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes
Thank
7-0.
you. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Okay, any comments from trustees?
Request one more time, if there is outside materials of the board packet, please list it in the board packet to
Oh,
look at the
yes,
other
sorry about
others.
that, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I think, do I hear a motion to adjourn the regular meeting of January 14th, 2026? All in favor?
Aye.
Much.